So, what are the next couple steps here in the off-season, the process, and when will we start seeing the announcement on player signings for next season?
I would think you'd start seeing some signings very soon. You actually can't even sign somebody until the last few weeks. Now, we actually have a few in the box here that we need to announce. I mean, from a marketing standpoint, you kind of time it to where you'll get some some good exposure from it and everything else. But we'll start that soon. There's some players. I know Robes is he's in contact with me all the time about some of the guys he has, and from the names he's sending me and the reports I'm getting back from him, it looks very good. I had a great conversation with Brad Treliving from Phoenix yesterday, and we'll continue to develop that and see if that works out. I need to talk to Buffalo as well, and we'll see how the affiliation works out. But to answer your question, I would think we'll start seeing some signings within the next. I should say we should start announcing some signings within the next couple of weeks.
Perfect timing, bringing up the affiliates. This is another fan question from David W. I don't want to butcher your last name, so we're just going to use an initial. But he was actually curious, what are the odds that our NHL affiliates change, and how do we make sure we receive more players from our affiliates next season, where last year, only a couple of guys were here from the Coyotes?
That's a very good question. It's actually a very complicated question to answer, because the first thing is that in order to build a true affiliation agreement, you need to spend time with each other. It's sometimes it's just luck. Sometimes a system is loaded with young quality players that, and then they might be loaded up top and they don't have a bunch of injuries, and you just get lucky. We were fortunate back in '05 and '06 when we made our Cup Finals run. Florida was fortunate this year with both Charlotte and Carolina missing the playoffs. They were loaded at the end of the year. So a lot of it comes down to luck. But as far as who we'll be staying with, we haven't closed the door on anything. As I mentioned, I've had a great talk with Phoenix. One of the things that I would like to see and is I would like to try to get our organization into a true development system, whoever it ends up being, where from their level, their prospects level, and everything else, we kind of become ingrained in that system, and it takes time to do that. It might seem like you could just sign one year and suddenly you have that relationship, but it really takes some time. It takes some time from their end, because they have to make decisions that impact the National Hockey League level, the American Hockey League level. It's a reality that we're not the first thing they think of when they're putting their hockey team together, but I want to be with a team that wants to build depth, that wants to have, 6 goalies in a system, that wants to have an extra, 2 goalies outside of the 7 or 8 that they have up in the American Hockey League, that wants to sign some extra forwards, that wants to be that deep and realizes that it's good for them as well as us for them to do that. And you just don't build those relationships overnight. So to answer the questions, I'm talking with Phoenix right now. I will talk with Buffalo. I might talk to a couple more, but it's kind of one of those things. I want to make sure. You never know how things turn out in any one year. You could have a great affiliation agreement and a bunch of injuries happen, and you just kind of get, I don't know if screwed's the right word, because you're moving players up, but you kind of get hurt at this level from a win-loss perception. But that doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad affiliate over time. Sometimes you can be loaded up with players, and just luck of the draw, lack of injuries, everything else. So we're taking some time to analyze that, and but that's the goal that we're working towards, and it's like anything else. Sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't, but it's something that we're really putting a lot of patience and analyzation into to try to figure out.
Question from Carter B. What are the odds we see more West Coast teams at the Arena Gwinnett Center, like a home-and-home series, and have maybe fewer games against a division opponent?
Well, this year you're going to see a lot more Western teams. We fly out west. We play Utah and Boise. We have, I can't remember now, but I think we have 5 or 6 teams from the West coming into the East to play us. So I think there's a chance that you'll see a handful of games every year. Whether that's 2 games, 4 games, 5 games out of the 36, I don't know. You're going to see. It's like anything else. We play for a division championship. We play for a conference championship. So if you're going to play for a division championship, you obviously need to play the teams in your division a lot more than you play other teams. In the past, when we had a lesser number of teams in the East, it got excessive. I mean, 3 years ago we were playing Greenville, 18, 19 times a year total. 8 or 9 times at home and 8 or 9 times at their barn. That's now gotten down to where it's 13, 14 games, 12 games with Florida. And personally, I think that's about right, because if we're going to have a division champion, then we need to play the teams within our division to earn being a division champion. We didn't win the Kelly Cup championship last year, but we're pretty doggone proud of that South Division championship that we won. And but I think if you look at the schedule this year, I mean, we have a lot of teams from the North that come down, and we have several teams from the West. And it's the West is kind of a luck of the draw. It's where they route them. And this year we've had a lot. You would think with Atlanta being a major airport hub that we would see them pretty frequently. And this year we see several. So I don't know if that answers your question or not, but it kind of explains the process.
All right, Chappie, and last question. Anything fun you've done so far this summer? You have any fun plans coming up?
You know me, I'm going to have some fun. Yeah, we've had, first, some family stuff. We had league meetings out in Las Vegas, and for the first time, my kids have now gotten old enough where I think my wife feels like she can get away from them for a few days, or maybe she feels like she needs to get away from them for a few days. But at the end of the meeting, she came out, and Billy Johnson, who's the GM and president of the Las Vegas Wranglers, Toby Jeffries, our majority owner, was out there. We had a good time. Went out and saw a few shows and got to hang out with them, and then took a red-eye flight with the wife back to Florida, where my kids were with the in-laws. And I discovered that when you have 2 kids, a red-eye flight is a lot better idea in theory than it is in reality. But had a good time with them. We were on the outer cusps, I think, of Tropical Storm Debbie. So we had a lot of rain at first, but then we had some pretty rocking, beach waves, and taught the kids to do some body surfing and some wakeboard surfing and stuff like that. Seen some good concerts this summer. I saw the Counting Crows and at the Tabernacle. Really enjoy them. Went over to Birmingham to visit a buddy of mine, and there's a band called Black Jacket Symphony that does they do some covers of they'll cover an entire album actually, and it's really good. We saw Abbey Road by the Beatles and saw Led Zeppelin 4. That was cool. And then later this month, my daughter turns 10, and we're going to New York for 5 days. And we always try to take a family vacation right before. I coach a 8-year-old football team last year, 7-year-old football team. So right before we get back into all that again, we try to take a little family vacation. And so we're going to go up to New York, and it's my daughter's. She's seen pictures and heard me talk about going up there. I'm from Boston, but I love I love New York City, and so we're going to be able to take her out and see that. And then other than that, just some golf every now and then with some buddies. But yeah, it's been a good summer. It's too hot right now. I can do without this, but everything else has been a lot of fun.